Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back everybody for another YouTube video. This is going to be your daily cryptocurrency market update video. We've really been banging on quite aggressively now about a capitulation event that I foresee, could be totally wrong, coming early next year. And to me, the stars are very much aligning in regards to this thesis. We're going to start things off by looking at this article called Bitcoin, or titled Bitcoin Could Plunge 70% to $5,000. Standard Charter predicts in a possible 2023 surprise. I did a really long, or not long, but I did quite an in-depth video yesterday talking about the Bank of International Settlements and how they'd essentially revealed around about $80 trillion of dollar-denominated debt in the FX swap market. For those of you that don't know how the FX swap market works, please go and watch the video that I put on yesterday. But the financial system is coming to an end as we know it. And what I mean by that is money itself, that is essentially just liability backed, is destined to fail, and things are really heating up on that road to oblivion. And I don't mean that, or I do mean that in as a dramatic format as possible. Now, we have scenario forecast. We will get into this, but let's just link this to Bitcoin. We'll also touch on another video that we made yesterday, talking about Mike Wilson's comments from Morgan Stanley in regards to advising his clients to take and close out tactical longs. This would have been and had a large part to do with why the stock market in the US sold off yesterday. We know that the dollar is reaffirming, so we've got quite a bit to get through in this one. But we've really scenario forecast and said, look, you've got this bullish div here for Bitcoin. I have to take that seriously as somebody that does TA. I have no other choice because bullish divergences, certainly on a weekly or a larger time frame, what they'll typically show is that a trend may be subject to change. The strength behind that trend is perhaps weaning. And given just how much leverage has been taken out on the way down here, it kind of makes sense that this trend is somewhat, and we can look at money flow and a number of other things. And we essentially said, look, let's take a look at the previous time. We'll get into the small-term timeframes and look at our scenario forecast for a bit more of an extension in a rally before we get this continuation. We said, look, the last time... Have I got another Bitcoin chart to use here? No, so we'll just use this one for right now. But the last time we had one of these bullish divergences was down here. And it did play out and lead to upside, only for the eventuality of March 2020 to take place, which was a bit of a black swan, and actually see a capitulation event, which is essentially what we've been calling for taking place since sort of 15,600. And, you know, we're calling for this as a repeat, and we've sort of drawn how we get there. And I do think you're going to have something seriously going wrong into the new year. I really do. I can see this rally continuing for a bit longer, getting everybody's hopes back in. People are too short, or too short at 15K. Only for us to lead into that capitulationary event. And honestly, everything that I'm seeing, guys, it just makes me want to stay the hell out of markets to avoid whatever may be coming down the road, because it's something grievous in my opinion. So let's get into this article, Bitcoin it could, and we'll do some short-term TA, drop down the time frame to get into the hourly. You know, we'll look at our sort of play that we had. Get rid of the bar pattern. We'll look at the play that we had for Bitcoin, and you know, we've essentially from here made target 1, target 2, target 3. Do we get to target 4, 5, and 6? Potentially. But it depends on what the dollar's doing. The dollar we actually called yesterday for the dollar to actually get a bid. It had one of the worst weeks in a long time. It was also showing bullish divs, showing that this current pullback in a larger uptrend potentially is subject to change. But let's dive into this one, guys. So, talking about a 70% plunge in Bitcoin to $5,000. Bitcoin could drop to $5,000 next year in a market surprise that investors are underpricing. How many times have we said what we're doing is pricing the current economic conditions based on interest rates and what this is going to mean for liquidity? It's going to have to go back into a massive, massive, colossal debt market. And this is going to have to come from somewhere, which is going to be the asset classes. So that is, and we've shown the correlation with interest rate rises and asset classes. But what people aren't pricing in is systemic risk, which is looking more and more obvious as the days go on. It looks imminent, essentially. I would say I'm about 90% sure we're going to get some sort of major fallout you know, what the yield curve is essentially predicting is coming, in my opinion. So he goes on to say, according to Standard Charter, making a 70% plunge from the current levels around 17K. In a note entitled The Financial Market Surprises of 2023, Standard Charter outlined a number of possible scenarios we feel are underpriced by the markets. Standard Charter said by rising yields along with a plunge in technological or technology stocks will lead to an acceleration of the Bitcoin sell-off and cause further bankruptcies and collapses in the crypto world. We are still not yet to have fully felt the full effects of everything that's gone on with FTX and everything like that. And I think there's going to be a lot more skeletons revealed in the closet, you know. And this is what I've always said about. So we've been very, very short-term bearish or long-term bearish, mid to long-term bearish in regards to, you know, getting out 44K and calling for downside. We flipped short-term bullish at 15,700 round about this area here. We said you're going to get a short squeeze. We exited all our shorts, and you've had a run so far. Some altcoins are up 30+%. The problem I've always said with longing this market, and we're currently negative on one of our longs right now, is you're playing Russian roulette. The gun is loaded. The downside is there and is somewhat imminent in my opinion. However, you know, you may get away with pulling the trigger a few times before you're unfortunately the bullet comes around to you. We've got some comments again looking at what Mike Wilson said. You know, he's expecting a wild ride. He's expecting something to essentially nearly a 24%, I think he cited, drop for the S&P. We looked at this yesterday, calling for the S&P down here. What do you think Bitcoin's going to do in that pretext? And this ties in with our overall thesis that, you know, this is the dollar. I think the dollar's going to reaffirm. Stock market bottom was largely on the turn of the dollar, of course. There's a number of reasons for that. But what happens when the dollar reaffirms, which I think it's close to doing? I think that one thing that supports maybe a bit of a rally for the crypto space, a little bit of a continuation of the rallies, I think it's going to be a little bit softer than people are expecting. People are expecting just this massive, you know, straight back up to all-time highs. Even though I do think it gets there, I think it may take a bit of a longer approach and actually get a spike on some sort of bad news as people run to the dollar for safety. This is going to plummet assets and is potentially all tying in with our thesis that you don't get market analysts analysis like anywhere on YouTube in regards to what we talk about here, guys. This is for serious people that are serious about investing, trading, and looking to get these markets right. But we're still calling for this. We still think you're very much following 2008 scenario, and we've got this sort of Lehman's moment to take place, and that makes me want to be the hell out of markets. That's why we stay majority cash, majority dollar cash, even though we've seen a pullback in the dollar. We've still maintained a very strong position there, ultimately waiting for things to play out. Now, they may not, you know, we're scenario forecasting risk here, systemic risk, which may not take place, even though it looks very much like it's set to. So we have to be very aware that because we're sidelines, we may miss out on amazing opportunities. That's why we trade the market. But ultimately, you know, I do envision, I don't know how much longer this goes on for. And actually with Bitcoin, you'll notice, you know, that it kind of, on the short term, even though it put in a marginally higher high here, you know, I think that I wouldn't bet on this going too much further. And I think maybe going into Christmas, this sort of, you get a blow off top somewhere here. Very probable you get to 18, maybe 1850. But then it's a very harsh slam down going into the new year and all the problems that may bring. We got a slightly weaker dollar today, which is kind of what we are expecting. You know, gold is up. The US futures market is up after having a really bad day yesterday. Could get a bit of a pullback to the upside for Bitcoin, which would be lovely for me to see for my long positions. But just be very careful, guys, moving forwards. It is insane how much risk I'm seeing across the table, and I want to make sure, and I want to bring up my good friend, okay, right now. I'm going to bring up, if you just bear with me 1 second, guys, the yield curve inversion, because we've said, look, this has to be on the forefront of everybody's minds, that we still haven't had the fallout of this. Here we go. Pop that back in there. This is one of the steepest yield curves that we've ever seen. We have not had the fallout of this yet. Can you see how the stars are aligning? And even though people are bearish, they're not as bearish as I think they potentially need to be in terms of systemic risk, which I think is very much coming and on the table. I don't think we get to 5K. I know, or I've certainly heard of large players that would go hand over fist if we got anywhere near 10K. And of course, I think crypto, you've got a huge value proposition here with some of these cryptos, these smart contract layer ones, becoming extremely undervalued, and I'll be looking to scoop them up. Me and my group are very primed and positioned to do that. And anybody who's interested in joining my group, there's a link in the description. But just food for thought, guys. Stay safe out there. You know, short term, we do still see a bit more of a rally continuing, but ultimately this is going to lead to the eventuality of you being the unlucky one that presses the trigger. And if you're trying along this and unfortunately you've lost the game of Russian roulette and the market kind of falls in on itself, this is very much coming in my opinion. And that's a message that I want to really stress. Dollar's a little bit weak today, so you may get a big gold killing it after, you know, a number of reasons. We can do a whole video on gold if I wanted to. On to another note now, guys, now that I've sort of finished the update that I had for you. I am potentially looking for some people to come on board the All-In Crypto team and look to make content in regards to specific ecosystems that they are interested in. So you guys know that we used to make regular content, on daily content, in fact, on certain projects, you know, whether it be Cardano, whether it be Polkadot, whether it be Cosmos, whatever it may be, even Ethereum. I would like it if I could get back to doing that. Now, the problem that I have is I'm very tied up in certain areas, really looking at markets generally, and being a kind of analyzer. And you know, I'm going to keep these daily market updates going and look to keep interesting videos that I find interesting going. But I would like some more fundamentalist content in regards to certain cryptocurrencies and their ecosystems on this channel. If you think that you need no credentials, you just need me to basically believe in you, essentially. If you think creating content is something that you would like to dabble your hands in or get into, and you are interested in a kind of fanatic for an ecosystem that we'd like to talk about on this channel daily, please let me know in the comments. You can get at me at Twitter. If you go and follow me on Twitter at @RealAllInCrypto, and actually drop me a message. There's lots of scammers out there, guys, so please be very careful. My Twitter account is @RealAllInCrypto. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Drop a message on one of my recent or on this pinned tweet saying that you want to get in touch with me. I'll add you as a friend and maybe we can liaison. But just some food for thought, something that I'm not 100% decided on yet, but I just want to see what the response potentially is. I would like to start covering fundamentals of individual projects and really have a regular reporter on their ecosystems and giving updates on it. I can deal with the price aspect of things, but really to get some more education out there in regards to this amazing technological revolution that is taking place. On that note, guys, I'm going to love and leave you. If you enjoyed the content, like, as always, appreciate it, so as a comment, and I'll see you all in the next YouTube video. Thanks a lot for watching, ladies and gents.